Look, speed is not everything. In fact, it sounds silly and even lame if that's all you do. But I think we can all agree that it sounds incredible when a guitarist is playing something meaningful and melodic and then whips out some incredibly fast line to decorate the melody. If you're someone who has tried to play fast lines but ends up sounding sloppy, stick around as I show you the speed zone system that works for anyone that I use for mastering high speed runs and licks like this. The problem is that being able to master these impressively fast lines seems to be reserved for the prodigies and the savants of guitar playing. Most of us end up sounding like this guy when trying to play fast, when we want to sound like this guy. And it seems like no matter what we do or how long we practice, we can't seem to get to that level. It seems impossible for us mere mortals. But I learned that it is possible, and I'm going to show you exactly how. Because you see, before I learned this approach that I'm about to show you in this video, I could not play clean at high speeds. I was stuck at slow speeds and I felt like a failure. Most people mindlessly repeat things in their practice sessions, hoping that repetition itself will make them better. It doesn't work, and that's not how really good guitarists actually practice. They don't engage in mindless repetition. They are much more intentional. I want you to hold that word intentional in your mind as you practice every day and throughout this video. I'm going to show you exactly what intentional repetition looks like in this video, so hang tight. So without further ado, here is the speed zone system that I use and that lots of other really good guitar players use to master the most difficult and fast lines. Here's the lick we're going to use in today's practice session to teach this system. There's 3 speed zones at which you will practice every day in order to master the most difficult lines and licks at high speeds. The first speed is your comfort speed. So I'm going to start at 80 beats per minute and we're doing sextuplets. So this is a speed at which you can do it with your eyes closed, not thinking about anything. It's just easy and it's comfortable, hence comfort speed. Now this is the speed you warm up on every day. This is the speed that you remind your brain every day in your practice session what relaxed and good technique is supposed to feel like. So you start your practice session every day with this speed. But at the beginning, when you're first learning your lick, any speed might actually feel like the edge of your comfort zone, which is the second speed zone. And if that's the case, you start there. So the edge of your comfort zone, this is where things start to fall apart. And this is where it starts to sound a little bit sloppy. It's not too fast to where you can't fix your mistakes, but it's just fast enough to where it's sounding a little bit sloppy and you can start fixing your mistakes. This edge of your comfort zone is where all of the progress takes place. It's where all of the magic happens. It's how I was able to get to be able to play things that I never thought possible. The edge of your comfort zone is where everything important happens, basically. So for the sake of this video, I'm gonna say 100 beats per minute, sextuplets is the edge of my comfort zone. So 100 is not as difficult as I thought, so I'm gonna go up to 110. Okay, so it's not terrible, but it doesn't sound great. And it doesn't, more importantly, guys, it doesn't feel great. And that's a really, really important note here. Now, since we're engaging with the edge of our comfort zone here, it's not enough, like I said at the beginning of the video, it's not enough to just engage in mindless repetition. Most people, including my past self, would just turn on the metronome and just brute force through it over and over and over and over again until I wanted to throw my guitar at the wall. That's not the solution here. What we first have to do is we have to ask, why am I making mistakes? Why does it feel tense? Why does it feel uncomfortable? And then you start systematically solving each of these problems one at a time. This is crucial when you're at the edge of your ability, the edge of your comfort zone. And when you start attacking these problems one at a time, it's best to attack them with fewer notes. So instead of, like, for example, if I'm focusing on synchronization, which I'm going to in a second, it's better to just focus on a few amount of notes first, maybe like 1 click or 2 clicks at a time, and then start adding clicks. So let's tackle synchronization and let's break it down. Instead of playing the whole lick, let's play just like the first 2 clicks. So maybe just from here, right there. And when I say the first 2 clicks, what I'm talking about is I'm starting on a click or I'm starting on a downbeat and I'm ending on a click or I'm ending on a downbeat. Some people call this chunking, and this is essentially just a way for me to map out exactly what I'm working on so that I can focus on a specific metric or a specific thing, which is synchronization. It's going to be hard for me to focus on synchronization if I'm trying to just blast through the whole entire lick. So click, and then click on that last note. So what I'm noticing is I'm pretty much alternate picking every single note in this whole sequence except for 1 note. A pull off right before I string transition with my pick. And what I'm noticing is synchronization is falling apart here. So what I've learned over the years with synchronization is simply focusing on synchronizing both hands is enough to lock in my synchronization. Other things that I focus on to lock in my synchronization are keeping my left and right hands relaxed. And then another thing I do is I close my eyes and I hold both hands in my mind's eye and sort of feel them and watch them move in perfect synchronization with each other. It's like a visualization technique. So once that's feeling good, again, I'm still working on synchronization, guys, and this is the key. It's this ability to be able to hyper focus on a specific metric, on a specific detail. And so I'm still on synchronization, and now I'm going to add another click. I'm gonna go click, click, and I'm gonna end on this note, because that's the 3rd click. Synchronization. As I'm doing this, I'm hyper focusing on synchronization, but I might notice some other things, which I just did just now. I'm tensing up a little bit too much, so I'll jot that down in my notes. Okay, this is really important, so pay attention. I'll jot that down. Hand tension. Another thing I'm noticing is my wrist is freezing up, which kind of is like a tension thing again, but my wrist is freezing up, so I want to focus on maintaining fluid and loose wrist movement. Because if my wrist starts locking up, then it throws off my synchronization. If I start tensing up, it throws off my synchronization. I'm going to stick with very few notes here, not the whole sequence, and I'm going to focus on each of these things one at a time. Synchronization, relaxation, fluid, unlocked wrist movement. This is all at the edge of my comfort zone, 110 beats per minute. So one of the other things I like to focus on when I'm at the edge of my comfort zone is to stay as close as I can to the plane of the strings. Now this is simple on one single string, but it gets really difficult as you start to transition to other strings while alternate picking at high speeds. And you can see how close I stay to the plane of the strings here. Now, if we watch this in slow motion, you'll see that some of the movements are actually a little bit bigger than they look like at slower speeds. Down, up, down, string transition. Down, up, down, up, down, string transition, up, down, up. Right there. Okay. So every time I transition to a new string, the movements are a tiny bit bigger, but essentially what I'm focusing on here is I'm focusing on making every movement of the pick as small and economical as possible. And then every time I transition to a new string, I make that pick stroke just a little bit wider. So you can see that right here. Small, small, small. A little bit wider to the next string. Small, small, small. a little bit wider to the next string. As I go, see that? As I go to that next string right there, my pick is barely missing the string that I'm transitioning to. So essentially, what you do for this is the same thing as before. You take a few notes with a string transition, just one single string transition. So you might take this right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, pull off, string transition. You might just take that first section and hyper focus on staying as close to the plane of the strings as possible, staying as relaxed as possible, and keeping your movements as small and economical as possible. Then from there, you add another string transition. Same process, then from there, you add another string transition. This is crucial for playing at high speeds. Working at the edge of your comfort zone is going to take up the bulk of your practice. So if you practice for an hour, your warm-up will be 10 minutes, the edge of your comfort zone practice will be 40 minutes, and then the last speed zone, which is your speed burst speed zone, will be like 10 minutes. What I'm gonna do at the last part of my practice session, maybe 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes, is I'm going to work on speed bursts. And this is where you build the fast twitch muscle fibers that it takes to be able to play at really high speeds. So I'm gonna go to 120 beats per minute, and I'm gonna break down to even fewer notes here. The purpose here isn't to problem solve as much as it is to build fast twitch muscle movements. So I'm going to only bite off as much as I can chew at this speed, which is not gonna be very much. I'm actually just gonna start with that. 4 notes, that's it. Then I'll add some. So I'll end the last part of my practice session with speed bursts to build those fast twitch muscle movements. Now again, you don't want to overwhelm yourself and you don't want to develop bad habits when you do these speed bursts, so you only want to bite off as much as you can chew. And for me, that was just 4 notes, maybe like 6 notes. And that's just to get my muscles used to those fast twitch movements while, key point here, while staying relaxed. So again, in a nutshell, the 3 zones to start mastering high speed licks and lines is 1, your comfort zone. That's to establish your baseline comfortable speed where your technique is relaxed, smooth, and feels great. Then it's the edge of your comfort zone where you're problem solving. One thing at a time, you're at a speed at which things start to fall apart a little bit, but not too much. That takes up the bulk of your practice. Then at the end of your practice, you engage with the speed burst zone, which is where you develop fast twitch muscle movements. Only bite off as much as you can chew. Do this every day and you should start seeing some insane improvements. If you want to learn more about specifically how to practice well and build alternate picking chops and legato and anything you can think of, click down below and I'll hook you up. We'll see you in the next video.